Hello, welcome to my presentation for corrective reading. My name is Allie Stewart. So first, when looking at my personal reading beliefs, one thing I believe is that it's necessary for life, necessary for everyone, that everyone needs to know how to read. So that leads me into my next thing is that everyone can learn how to read with the right teacher and things. Any child can learn how to read and become a reader. One important factor in reading is exposure. I think exposure is key. Children and everyone needs exposure to lots of reading, lots of different ways, so that way they can become a better reader and learn how to read. I also think reading has a bias for being pretty difficult, especially for those who are unmotivated. When children aren't exposed to reading, they see it as only used for learning instead of other things. It can be hard to get children to be motivated to read, so then that means the reading is difficult for children. I also think comprehension is a big part of reading that is very difficult. It's hard to teach and it's hard to learn, especially at a young age. I struggled big with comprehension when I was young. I remember I was always a straight A student in elementary school, and then I hit 3rd grade and all of a sudden I was getting C's in every comprehension quiz or test, assignment, anything. And so I struggled with that, and I had to really work with my teacher. My parents pushed me at home, and then I got over that and understood how to comprehend things and then became a fine reader. So I can see how that is a problem with young kids and something I can help them as their future teacher. I also think reading has many purposes. A lot of kids nowadays, even college students now, we see it as just to get information along, but reading can be for enjoyment, obviously, and I feel like a lot of people don't, unless you love reading so much. Not a lot of people do it just for enjoyment, but it's for enjoyment, it's for informational, it's for argumentative, there's many purposes for reading, and we need to let children know that it's more than just for schoolwork and homework. It's more. Next, some reading theories that I really identify with are social constructivism, social learning theory, and associationism. First, with social constructivism by Vygotsky, his big thing through this theory was learning through interactions. Children need interactions with their classmates, with their teachers, with their community, their parents. This is how they learn. They learn through interactions. A big part of his theory talked about the zone of proximal development, meaning that people and children have a circle of knowledge that they already know, but it expands to the proximal development where they can get to, but you need support. And so that's where scaffolding comes in. Teachers can support their students to get from what they know and expand their knowledge. Some instructional ways to implement this theory is through buddy reading, so maybe pairing the stronger reader with a weaker reader, so the weaker one can learn, or two strong ones together so they can learn from each other, things like that. Another great one that goes along with buddy reading would be cross-age reading, so bringing your 3rd graders in to read to the kindergartners. That is huge for kindergartners. They can learn from their peers. Another thing is having differentiated instruction, because we all know our students learn in different ways. Next one, social learning theory by Bandura. This main part of this theory is learning through experiences. Children need to experience life and learn by doing. So a big thing is modeling. Teachers have to model what they're doing, how they're thinking, what they want their students to do, so that way they can learn. If you show them what they're supposed to be doing and you give them that experience, they will learn. Examples of how to do this is through guided reading and writing, and then shared and paired reading again, and then just always knowing that activities are much better than learning. So if kids are experiencing and doing, they will learn much more than you standing up there just talking to them or presenting. Last one by Aristotle is all about making connections. We all know as teachers, making connections is huge, especially relationship, but also we have to make connections with our knowledge. So that means taking your previous knowledge, building on that, changing our previous knowledge and connecting them and see how they're different and how it makes sense. So a big part of that is making the connections before and during and after reading. Ways you can do this are through KWL charts. So what do you already know, what do you want to know, and then what have you learned? And then story mapping to make sure you get the beginning, middle, and end. And then think pair sharing is also good, so that way you have your knowledge and then you can learn from someone else too. Next, a big part of teaching is bonding with your students. So for me, my biggest goal in teaching is to build a safe, welcoming, loving classroom environment where my students want to be at, so that way they can learn. So the first way that I plan to do this is morning greetings, saying hello and welcoming every student into my room, asking them how their evening was, how their morning was. Once I get to know them more, asking more in-depth questions, how their siblings are, how sports practice went, how this event, whatever that may be. So with that comes building relationships. That is obviously a big part of teaching. We have to get to know our students and want to know them, and they need to know us, so that way they can learn from us. Along with building relationships with our students need to build relationships with each other. So as the teacher, we have to promote strong relationships with their classmates, providing opportunities for them to get to know each other. One big thing that I took away from one of the videos for this module was getting to their level. So in the video, they're talking about getting to their eye level. And for me, I'm an early childhood and elementary major, so I want to work with lower elementary, so my students will be smaller. And so I may look intimidating or scary to them. So if I get physically on their eye level, it's less intimidating and they can feel more comfortable talking to me. And also with this, not only literally getting to the level, but mentally too. So if there's a problem or disagreement or something, I need to get in their shoes and understand where they are coming from, so that way I can help them. Another thing with building relationships is communication with parents and family members. If I start building relationships with them early, that it makes it easier for things down the road that I need to communicate with them. And these last two just go with building that classroom environment that I want. So if I believe in them and genuinely show that I care, they will see that and want to be in my classroom and want to learn. And then, of course, always having a positive attitude that's with me and amongst my students, and make sure my students have that too. And then having an enthusiastic environment, this again ensures that they want to be there and they will learn. Next big thing is having a classroom community. Having a strong classroom community promotes the safe, welcoming, and loving classroom environment that I want to have, which will ultimately lead to an increase in student achievement. So having that strong sense of community is great for my students. And how I plan to do this is by creating that sense of belonging that I just talked about, because if my students do not feel like they belong, they will not be able to learn. But if they do feel safe and loved, that can put them in the mindset to be able to learn. Again, having that positive atmosphere, this means like not allowing negativity in the classroom, not allowing bullying or children making fun of each other. No, we need to stay positive. If someone doesn't want to do something in the classroom, we have to understand that we do and just find the good in it. I also want a classroom community that is hardworking. We get our stuff done and make sure we get through the lessons, but we also have fun doing it, because if children are not having fun or not engaged, they're not going to learn. And the last biggest one is inclusivity. Obviously, I want to promote and include all the diversity that we have in the classroom and make sure we embrace each other's differences, because we can learn from that. Lastly, just some important concepts that I learned from this module. First one is organization. Organization is key in the classroom. It promotes independence for your students, because then it allows them to know where things go in the classroom and how to stay organized as well. For example, if a child is doing a reading assignment and they're struggling, they can't remember something, if I have a reading poster about that and it's up in the reading corner, they will know to look in that reading corner and find what they need. Next is motivation. Motivation is crucial. Reading does not come natural to some kids. Maybe they weren't exposed to it at home, or they didn't get it in their early years. So providing this motivation for reading is so important. This can be as simple as giving them the opportunity just to read. So teaching children the importance of reading and the love for reading is crucial for them. And the last one is exposure. Children need exposure to many different things for many different times to fully understand it. So for reading, they need a exposure to a variety of books, for a variety of reasons, with a variety of levels, and be read to them in a variety of ways. These things are the important concepts that I pulled from this module. That's all.